evening and good afternoon to you all. From those down the road to the folks around the world. Welcome back to another video. As you can see from this lovely title down below, I'm going to go through a little bit about the later 19th century city of Adelaide. So let's get straight to it. Now, an ever-present factor in the city of Adelaide, ever since the arrival of the British at the end of 1836, was indeed the river. A river that would be named after River Torrens, who was the Colonisation Commission chair at the time of the 1830s and whom advocated for South Australia as a new colonial site. Now, this river between 1836 and 1857 was just a simple small stream, a stream that unfortunately had a tendency to flood during the summer months. So in 1857, to mitigate the problem of flooding actually occurring in Adelaide itself and to regulate the flow of water, a weir was built at the place called Athelston, 10 kilometres northeast of Adelaide. Athelston was originally a small village. It's now one of the suburbs of the city of Adelaide. Another weir was constructed within the city as of 1862, but replaced with this current model in 1881. When these weirs were constructed, a lot of detrimental effects were made to the river and the riverbanks themselves. A lot of the trees were cut down so that the water level could rise. The floor bed of the river itself was made out of a form of gravel, and this gravel was actually dug up and used to construct a lot of the early roads for the city of Adelaide. With this protective layer of gravel now gone, there was a lot of erosion along the river's edges, and the bed of the river itself began to flatten. What is more, as the city began to develop and progress and modernise, the water quality of the River Torrens started to decrease. And this was because the early settlers within Adelaide decided not only to use the river as part of their water sources, but also as part of their sewerage system, which led to a rise of a number of waterborne diseases like typhoid. People used to swim within the River Torrens ever since the 1840s. There were a few cases of early drownings before the weirs were installed, but it still didn't deter people from swimming in the River Torrens. In 1913, there was the first annual Swim Through Adelaide event, a swimming contest race from the weir to the Adelaide Zoo, quite a fair distance. But the last event was held in 1969 because the issues with the quality of water were just too unsafe for people to swim in. And this one historic case proves that development and urbanisation can have a detrimental, or does have a detrimental effect on the environmental landscape around us, whether that be through water quality issues, or cutting down trees, or clearing entire landscape for various other urbanised projects. Once the replacement weir had been constructed in 1881, the city of Adelaide went through a number of beautification projects during the 1880s and 1890s, mostly along the River Torrens area within the city limits themselves. The first of these beautification projects was a place called Elder Park, which is just north of the Government House, train station and the North Terrace Street. A rotunda was placed at the heart of Elder Park in 1882. It had been originally manufactured in Glasgow and shipped from London. Now, the park had originally been called the Rotunda Park until about 1907, when it was named in recognition of Sir Thomas Elder, who was a philanthropist, a pastoralist, a racehorse owner, breeder, and a general politician of the South Australian government. Now, this rotunda had a 6-metre deep cavern underneath its wrought iron body. And being used for musical events and social gatherings, this cavernous space was used for storing the equipment used for those events. Unfortunately, in the last 100 years, it has been made inaccessible and has been blocked off. Across the street from the rotunda is what are now called the parade grounds. An area once used by the military is now more of a green space and has a number of memorials to the services of the Australian military forces during various conflicts in the last 100 years. But before it had been used as a military space during the 20th century, it had been used as a quarry which had serviced a lot of the brickwork and stones for certain public buildings in the late 19th century, so the Public House and the Adelaide Gaol. But as part of the beautification project, the quarry was closed in 1893, filled in and turned into the green space reminiscent to what it looks like today, with various palms being grown and a number of drill sheds being constructed for military purposes. A set of city baths were actually located in Elder Park, built in 1861 and refurbished during that same beautification period in 1883. Now, unfortunately, the baths, along with its building neighbour, the Migrant Hotel, were demolished in 1969 to make way for a Adelaide Festival Centre. The Festival Centre today is a big draw for the populace not only of Adelaide and the rest of Australia, but the wider world as well. Adelaide is a very cultural and forward-thinking city and hosts an annual Adelaide Fringe Festival every single year. Now, whenever there is a city with a river running straight through it, there needs to be bridges so that you can reach the other side of your grand city. And for Adelaide, in order to see the other side of the beauty spectrum, you need to bridge those gaps. Now, up until the 1870s, there was only one bridge that would actually cross over to the northern parts of Adelaide. Today, it is called the King William Bridge, after the street that it runs along with, but has been referred to in the past as the City Bridge or the Adelaide Bridge. Originally, there was a bridge constructed there in 1839, but it was made out of wood and it burnt down as of 1844. It was replaced about 10 years later with a wrought iron body bridge, constructed over a 2-year period. But more bridges were needed to improve the communication and transport links to and from various points within the city. The Albert Bridge was constructed in 1879, made out of wrought iron and imported from England. Its entire purpose was to adjust the communications and transport links between the city of Adelaide. The University Bridge was designed in 1928, but not constructed until the late 1930s. It was implemented by the South Australian Railway Company. A couple of other bridges that serve a similar purpose were the Victoria Bridge, constructed in 1870, has been replaced as of 1968. But let us just take a small sidestep in this last part of the video, because the river may hold significance to the development of the city of Adelaide and the colonists who progressed it to where it is today. But the river is also significant to the Kaurna people who have lived in South Australia for thousands of years. They call the river the Karawira Pari, spelt kind of like this. And it roughly translates as the Red Gum Forest River. It is significant to the Kaurna people because the river is the same shape as the Milky Way galaxy in the sky. But it also holds significance by being part of one of their Dreamtime stories about the red kangaroo. In an example from yesteryear of how significant this place really is, in 1885 there were 2 large performances by the Kaurna people, attracting over 25,000 in total. But as has been the case not just for the Kaurna people, but for all of the indigenous clans across the Australian continent, these sites of religious importance have been built upon, and the indigenous communities have slowly been pushed aside and pushed out of these areas. As an example, the main site for the corroborees, these religious ceremonies conducted by the Kaurna people, is now where the rather large and imposing Adelaide Oval now stands. Now, I'm not gonna sit on any soapbox or anything like that. These videos are created to inform, to help people from around the world understand other people from other parts of the world, in this case, Australia. But I hope that these videos have been informative to you and it has given you more of an understanding about the development of this city, both positive and negative. I'm going to conclude this video here, but I'm going to wish you all a great day. See you later.